people disappearing under mysterious circumstances is causing concern and unease. Now, initially, there was a 30% reduction in such cases, which was partially attributed to political goodwill. However, recent remarks by the head of state regarding available options for dealing with offenders have created apprehension among civil society organizations who demand that the president retracts his comments. Earlier this week, the world observed the International Day of Enforced Disappearances, with our very own Andrian Kilemi shedding light on the struggles of families who have lost their loved ones under mysterious circumstances and who still hold on to the hope that their dear ones will one day return home.
Imagine this. Your loved one leaves home in the morning for work, never to return. That is the story of Judith Awino Otieno, a 32-year-old woman whose husband went missing under mysterious circumstances, only for his remains to be found by the banks of River Yala. Tears, sorrow and loneliness have engulfed Judith Awino as she remembers the morning of the 8th of August 2021, the day her husband left home never to return.
Na hiyo siku ilifaa waende Kisumu na rafiki yake Rikomeno. Na alisema madhe, nataka niende town na huyo Eric, bado amechelewa. Sijui niende ama niwache tu. Dakika kidogo Omena alimpigia simu. Ati Abongo uko wapi? Mimi niko hapa chini, kuja tuende. Akatoka.
If Judith knew that the phone call would lead her husband to his tragic end, she would never have let him leave home.
Kitu kama saa 9 mamake alimjaribu kumpigia simu.
Nilikuwa napiga hiyo simu, dakika kidogo najaribu, haingii. Dakika kidogo na kwa maana simu kama mtu nafungua huko narudisha message na yake hiyo mnyamaza tu.
Darkness fell, and with it, George Otieno's phone remained silent, its owner not returning home or even using another phone to inform his family of his whereabouts. Seconds turned into minutes, minutes turned into hours, and the day eventually came to an end. George Otieno not in sight.
Dakika kidogo bibi ya Eric alinipigia. Nyaloka. Bongo alirudi nyumbani. Nikasema hapana, Bongo hakurudi. Nikamuuliza na Eric pia hajaonekana.
And that's when his family realized that the situation had taken a turn for the worse. A search for the two adult friends who had left home in search of better livelihoods began.
Nilitembea kwa muchari mama, wacha nikuambie, kuona watu. Ni uchungu kwangu paka saa hii. Ni uchungu.
The hopes the families of George Otieno and Eric Omeno had that their kin would return alive turned from a bundle to a string as days turned into weeks. Then months passed with their loved ones nowhere to be found. Their worst fears were confirmed 6 months later when their remains were found by River Yala.
Ukiti akakuja hapa. Amamwambia mama, mwele ingine nimepata huko kwa msituni huko karibu na Gongo huko River Yala. Na nakaa tu sijui ni mtoto yako. Tuendeni tuone kama naweza kuwa mtoto yako. Akalete akaweka hapo karibu na gari yao. Nauliza mimi mama, hebu angalia huyu kama ni mtoto ya? Hebu angalia hii kama ni mtoto yako. Namwambia hii ni mtoto yangu kweli. Hii sioni kama ni mtoto yangu. Inaweza kuwa mtoto yangu kweli, hii si mtoto yangu. Mimi sakata kabisa hii si mtoto yangu.
What made the bad situation worse is that parts of his body were missing.
Eric hata nywele yake hata moja kuna nakaa tu mabati, mafupa peke yake. Makucha pia na mea kama ya msichana. Naona hapa alikatwa. Hapo ndio madudu ilikuwa natokea mingi. na ulimi yake hakukuwa. Hata hii macho hakukuwa. Na dudu yake alikatwa.
After a DNA analysis, it was confirmed that the bodies recovered from the River Yala were indeed those of George Otieno and Eric Omeno respectively.
Alipatikana mafupa 3 na ilikuwa na nyama kingine kadogo. Juu mafupa ilikuwa tu plain, hakuna nyama. Plain, tena imekauka.
Nilisika yeye kama binadamu, kama mtu mzima, mafupa 3 hiyo. Sanduku ya shilingi 45 na nguo na kila kitu.
2 years later, these families struggle to come to terms with the reality, holding on to the hope that their loved ones will someday return home.
Hata nikilala usiku nalala nikitega masikio nje akuja niite mama Kelly nimerudi fungua mlango.
Bado mimi nafikiri tu mtoto yangu tarudi. Sasa wengine nilisika mtu mwingine, sijui.
And although this river has hit the headlines for the wrong reasons with tens of bodies retrieved here, residents say that has changed, with reports now indicating that the killings have decreased by 30% and cases of enforced disappearances have decreased by 38% since 2021.
The numbers have declined. We are not seeing 10, 20 bodies being retrieved from the river, but it is not completely off.
Yala was the epicenter of some of the worst human rights abuses in January last year. Over 30 bodies were found floating across the river.
Missing Voices documented 130 cases of police killings and 22 cases of enforced disappearances in 2022. This compared to 2021, where Missing Voices documented 186 cases of police killings and 36 cases of enforced disappearances, this indicating a total drop of 31.5%.
Down with extrajudicial killings, down. Down with police brutality, down.
Earlier this week, as the world marked International Day of Victims of Enforced Disappearances, it emerged that cases of people disappearing under mysterious circumstances reared its ugly head yet again in Kenya. Recent remarks by the head of state regarding available options for dealing with offenders further created apprehension among civil society organizations who say his remarks are calling into question the government's commitment to upholding the right to life.
Maneno ya wezi ni ngapi? Wahame Kenya, waende jela, ama waende mbinguni.
We are concerned that those statements on their own constitute a grave threat to the rule of law. They portray a country that is no longer being governed by the rule of law and the Constitution.
Human rights organizations are now calling on the government to retrace its steps and reverse the growing culture of impunity and misuse of state power. Andrine Akilemi, TV 47.